on CKUT 90.3 FM.
Good morning, Montreal. You're listening to the Morning Detour on CKUT 90.3 FM. It's your girl, Tamara Angeline, aka Tata, holding it down. And of course, I'm joined by my amazing host, Wheezy, the biggest moon chaser, okay? And I'm not going to stop saying this because he's repping as our official Black History Month spokesperson this February, okay? But let me tell you about our first guest. She's a true advocate for mental health and empowerment in our community. Jade Parkinson-Gayle is a special care and mental health counselor who works privately with individuals and families, offering compassionate and empathetic support. I've had the pleasure of working with Gayle on many different occasions, and one next week. She's also the resident development coordinator at O3, which is a transitional housing program for young parents, and also a founding member of Black Girl Magic Canada. Jade is also about helping others live empowered lives, and she's working on creating the Unity Care Center that brings even more specialized care to Montreal. So let's show some love for the incredible Jade Parkinson-Gayle.
Yeah.
Shout out to you. First time on the show, but not first time seeing me.
Yes. Thank you so much.
This whole month we're really about highlighting what we call leaders of the new school, right? It's not just people who are always in the forefront. It's not just the people who are those token community workers that people will always call on, but it's people who are doing the work for the community behind the scenes and in front of the scenes who do not necessarily always get the shine or the light that they deserve, right? So this month is really about highlighting all those individuals that we've identified, and you have definitely been one of them. So you've dedicated your career to mental health and special care counseling, but what really inspired you to pursue that path, right? Because, social services, helping professions, you could do whatever you want, but why did you specifically choose that?
Very good question. I can never answer this question without getting right into the deep stuff, but my biggest inspiration is my brother. I have a younger brother who does have mental health issues, addiction being one of them. And, mental health is largely stigmatized in our community. Even in my own family, hearing things like, if he found something to do, he wouldn't hear any voices or things like that. And it's just so far from the truth. So growing up and kind of doing life alongside him, I realized the lack of advocacy that came within our family, in the community, and I was always just trying to do my little part to support him, and that just spread into doing my part to support others too.
And how has that shaped your work with individuals and families?
Yeah, particularly with Black families, I look at every Black person like a member of my own family. So the care and work that I give to others it's truly coming from the heart. It might sound cliche, but I think of people like, you could be my brother, you could be my sister. So I'll care for you like I care for him.
Yeah, and honestly, I've seen you in action, and I could vouch for that, because a lot of people in the community, I think they do it more sometimes for clout, right? But I've seen you, you really have, you have a calling for it, you know what I mean?
Oh, thank you.
You really care. You put the care into the care work, you understand me?
Into the care work for a while.
No, but it's true. But as someone who also works in transitional housing at O3, which is on your own, what are some of the unique challenges that young parents face, and how have you helped them navigate those obstacles?
Well, it said they're young and they're parents. Yeah. And so if you can think about what life was like for you when you're 16, when you're 21, 25, you're trying to figure things out. And to do that with a baby on your hip, mouth to feed, it's not easy. And a large majority of the folks who live at O3 are Black folks. And I could go on about how it comes to be that Black folks are the ones that are having children young and having single parent families and having low income. And those are just a few of the issues that they face. The society's not built for them. It's not built for us. So the issues that they face really are systemic. And as much as we have a lot of folks in the community helping, working, trying to do what they can, the needs are limitless and the workers are few.
Yeah, and O3 is one of the few Anglophone, English-speaking subsidized housing for young parents, right?
Yeah, it's the only one in Montreal, actually.
Only one in Montreal. Yeah. Okay, and how have you guys been able to sustain that so far?
Well,
Where did she begin? Where did she begin?
what would my director not want me to say? O3 gets some funding from the government, and largely it's private funders that are trying to keep the mission going. One of our big issues right now, I don't know if anyone's familiar with Project Chance, but Project Chance is located directly next to O3 and has been out of commission for like 5 years. Why? Because the heating and hot water situation stopped working in the dead of winter.
That's the one that's more adjacent on Sherbrooke, right?
It's closer to Sherbrooke, but on Cavendish.
Yeah, okay.
And I think it's been about 5 years. Nobody has restored those buildings. We know what the housing crisis looks like, and yet there's empty apartments as we speak at Cavendish and Benny, you know? And so O3 is having similar problems. We're kind of looking at it like, are we about to have the same fate? There's heating issues, there's water issues, and as much as the staff is caring and we do our part, we're not builders. Like, we don't know how to fix it. And the folks responsible, AKA the SHQ and the foam, those are the folks who we need to support us because they're the ones who have the bread and undersign our mortgage. So it's a big deal when you start to think like, are we not going to be able to keep doing this program? Someone said like, oh, do your program somewhere else. Sure, give us 30 apartments to do that somewhere else, you know? So I lost you in the question somewhere.
No, but because I'm debating if I should ask the other question or not, because I already know the answer.
You should definitely ask the question.
You see, like with the
OHM?
Yes, and there's other on Montreal North and in the East, and like some of them, like I've even referred clients to, and you can see it's like they get funding, right? Like I'm trying to always figure out what is the discrepancy, like what is it? It's the same population being served, but the funding doesn't add up.
You know what? It's in the politics and the layers of things where it's like you have certain, how can I call that? You assign a code to a certain demographic or a certain profile. So maybe older adults are getting a majority of the funding.
Okay.
Maybe
like seniors.
Older adults, I mean seniors. Maybe people with addiction problems are getting some sort of funding. And then it goes until you reach the single parents who may be at the bottom of that list.
And so mental health is something that you also focus on, right? And you find ways to embed that in your work. And we already know with the Black community, there's a big stigma around mental health, even now that we've become so progressive with it. But how do you approach breaking down those barriers and encouraging people to seek help, regardless of the stigma that's associated with our community?
Yeah, so I sort of disguise mental health work. I let the clients think, come sit with me and have a cup of tea and we're just gonna shoot the shit, And really, we're getting at whatever's going on with them. I also get out into the community and try to meet the practitioners that are offering services. Like, I don't feel comfortable referring someone to something if I can't vouch for it, especially when it comes to your mental health, because next thing you said Jade said you, and I can't live with that. So, I put myself out there. I try to get to know like what's happening in the community, what are the services, who's behind it, who's funding it, and then I can confidently say, hey, let's go to this place together. I'm gonna set you up with so-and-so, Beyond that, like, we can't get to the mental health work, the trauma, the deep-rooted stuff until the basic needs are handled. You don't want to talk about your trauma if there's no food in your fridge and no roof over your head and no clothes on your back. Like, we need to handle those basic needs first. And it's not easy to look at trauma either, because the people responsible for a lot of the trauma we carry are the same folks that we may live with, the same people in our community, and it's like, there's a sort of loyalty that you have to your family or community where you may not want to speak on certain things. What happens? What happens in the house stays in the house, right?
Yeah, it's also an issue.
So trying to create spaces where folks can share those things in confidence, then I see that as my little part in helping them work towards their mental health.
Not a little part. You're doing a big part because you're also in the process of establishing the Unity Care Center.
Yes.
Okay, so talk a little bit about that. Like, what inspired the idea? What do you envision providing as a care service? And what's that all about?
Yeah, so the Unity Care Center actually was a dream that I had when I was in college with some friends. And so my partner and I, Melanie, we both ended up in private practice after college. So I work with individuals and families in counseling, trying to improve family dynamics. And she works with folks on the autism spectrum as well as with older adults. So we're both kind of doing our singular efforts and our private work, and we decided let's come together so that we could reach more people in the community. So as of right now, we're functioning as sort of a virtual and mobile counseling service.
Awesome.
So we do work in the homes of families. Some certain places will let us use offices, which we really appreciate. And then of course the millennials love to be online, so we do that too. But our hope is to be able to establish, a brick and mortar center where people can come, receive the services that's culturally responsive, and really feel at home getting the help they need.
Yeah, and shout out to you. Like when I really say like Jade does the work, like you have even contracted me to come and do workshops on culturally proficiency and culturally competent care. And Jade really doesn't just talk about it, like you really are about it. You walk the walk. So she goes in the community and gets the people who fit exactly the need. Yeah. When you see a gap within your services, with a gap within the community that you serve, you go and you get people who look like them to serve them. Yeah. And I think that is awesome. But you know what? It is Black History Month. It's about celebrating achievements and addressing challenges. How do you see your work contributing to the ongoing empowerment of the Black communities in Montreal, and especially those that you serve?
That's a great question. Honestly, I don't think I give it much thought. Where I can see my work as a part of, Black history and Black resilience mainly is that I take care of the people around me. Yeah. And if we can survive, if we can live happy and healthy lives, then so can the generation behind us. And it's survival,
And it's moving from survival to living and striving.
Yeah, that's my hope.
Yeah.
That's my hope, because I think that as much as we try, there's always a certain pressure and a certain level of fighting that we have to do in surviving each day, even when we are thriving.
Yeah, and it's in our blood. But it's been great talking to you. But before we let you go, I just have to ask you, what legacy, because you do so much, us in the helping professions, we wear many hats, okay? Mm-hmm. What legacy do you hope to leave behind, both through your work as a counselor and your work as a residential educator, and like your vision for the Unity Care Center?
The legacy that I hope to leave behind, honestly, I just really think it's a each one reach one kind of thing. If I can impart something on someone that allows them to do the same for someone else, then I'm good. That's all I'm trying to accomplish here.
Awesome. And there you have it. So for people who are listening and they want to get in contact with you and your work, shout out your handles, websites, anything like that.
Yeah, you can find me predominantly on Instagram at consultations_with_Jade.
03?
03, you could call me on the 03 website. Google 03, you'll find us.
Thank you so much, Jade. It's been a pleasure having you, and I know that people who are listening have definitely been blessed.
Thank you. Yeah.